everybody. Welcome to the Straight Outta BS podcast. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. Thank you for commenting the videos, liking them, subscribing. Just everything that interacts with the video really helps the algorithm. So thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you to my Patreon members or anybody that's donated to the podcast. It's never expected. It's always really appreciated. I've never once asked for a donation. So, I mean, when I get them, it's kind of like, you know, it's awesome. So thank you guys. For that, I want to do a moment of silence for the person still struggling with intrusive thoughts or addiction or anything like that. So I'm going to do a moment of silence. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you for that. And without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce my guests for the day. Go ahead and introduce yourselves. And so for you, Nick, go ahead and introduce yourself and like where you went. And then for your dad, just go ahead and introduce yourself and just like a brief like introduction.
Hi, I'm Nick Lima. I went to Cross Creek programs.
Okay.
Yeah, my name is Jeff Lima. I am Nicholas's father, and ended up being caught up in the whole Cross Creek program, and I guess getting duped into sending Nicholas to that program. What was that, back in 2007?
Yeah.
Okay. And can both of you like maybe like one at a time, or you can kind of bounce off of each other? That's fine too. Could you walk us through like what was going on before you got sent to the program and like what led up to it?
I guess I'll start. Guess I wasn't really getting along with my mother too much, and I was not doing too well in school, and I was experimenting with marijuana and smoking marijuana. And
so my recollection of that period is Nicholas was 16, close to 17. I think the biggest struggle was behavioral issues. We're divorced, so he was living with his mother. So I wasn't seeing it from day to day. I would just get the updates, you know, once or twice a month. Communication was challenged at that time. But I think most of it wasn't hard drugs. It wasn't, you know, alcoholism, nothing like that. I think it was mostly behavioral issues.
Okay. And like, were you just like, were scared and just wanted, you guys just wanted to help him, right? And just didn't know what to do. Is that what was?
Correct. So his mother, Stacy, she made the decision to go with one of these programs. Just on the cost alone of those programs, I said, you know, we really can't afford this. And I was intending to drive out to Cross Creek to pick him up because I had, you know, 50% custody of him. And so she wasn't legally authorized to send him across states. But her parents got a hold of my father and my sister, and they did research on the Cross Creek website. My sister did, and they kind of talked me into going along with Stacy's decision, even though it was going to be a huge financial burden and sacrifice. Their words were, you know, Nicholas hasn't had a lot of opportunities in life. This could be really good for him. Jeff, you have to do this. And so I did it thinking, you know, this is going to be, you know, really quite challenging. It's going to be a significant sacrifice to do this. But, you know, at that point, I thought, you know, it is what it is. If this is going to help Nicholas, you know, become a functioning member of society and give him opportunities that he hasn't had before and help him with the school, I really thought, you know, it was going to add value to our lives. And really, it was the exact opposite.
Yeah. Interesting. Looking back on it now, did they, it sounds like they were like, kind of like, not like directly trying to influence you to send him there, but like saying certain things, like in certain ways to make you like saying certain words. Like, so for example, like when parents are struggling, what I've noticed is that they wait for those moments to like, you know, start like the second they reach out and, oh my, I think my child is in trouble. they know exactly what to say. Is that what it felt like to you, that they knew like kind of like exactly what to say to you to get you to send him there? Looking back
Well,
on it.
I didn't have any communication with him until he was already there. I
Okay,
hadn't even heard of
so his
crosscreek.
mom sent him away.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So I didn't know about it until maybe a day or two after he had already arrived to the program. And then I reached out to them, I think it was a Sunday morning, and I was livid. I was screaming at them over the phone.
Mhm.
And which is kind of surprising looking back on it now. I ended up speaking to the director. I don't remember his name. I'm not sure, but it was kind of strange that the director was able to get on the phone on a Sunday, and we probably chatted for about 45 minutes. And I was still angry throughout that entire phone call. He was trying to sell, the counseling and the school, and was saying, oh, he can get his diploma. And he was telling me, all the benefits that I could expect. At the end of that phone call, I was still angry. I had no intention of leaving them there. I guess after that phone call, they had sent me like the packet, and Nicholas is in custody of that packet now. It was like the application and all the disclosures to enter into the program. I never filled any of that out. But we kind of briefly looked through it a couple months ago when Nicholas was asking me for documents, and I was surprised at how many different disclosures there are in there and all the rights that the parents are signing away.
It's
it
crazy.
was pretty jaw dropping. With that being said, by the time, I finished my portion of what I agreed to pay, I think his mother filed bankruptcy and Cross Creek came after me for the balance that she owed. But, I had the court order when he was originally sent there after I was talked into letting him stay. I signed a stipulated agreement between me and his mother that I would just pay a flat dollar amount and let him stay there. And she went and filed within 3 or 4 days of signing that. She went and filed a suit down at the family courthouse, saying that she had signed under duress on that stipulated agreement. And I said, well, everybody signed under duress. Nobody is happy. There's no winners here. I said, if you're unhappy with the agreement, I'm unhappy with the agreement. I said, so let's just throw the agreement out and we'll start from scratch. And the court said, the mediator said, no, he's not coming home from the program. That's the best interest of the child. So he's staying there. And they said, look, you can either, pay for the court trial or the attorney fees, or you can just bump up the $30,000 that you've agreed to. And I looked at the mediator and her attorney, and I said, I'll pay quadruple in attorney fees before I pay one more penny to Cross Creek. So then it ended up going to court. It cost me, I don't know, another $10,000 to $12,000 to, enforce that agreement. So now I'm $40+ out. And then at the end, when the mother filed bankruptcy and came after me, at least I had that court order showing that the court agreed that my share was $30,000, and I never filled out their bullshit application or packet or gave any consent directly to the Cross Creek programs that I was okay that my son was there, not realizing that the type of abuse that was going on.
Yeah, that's before you realize all of that. I'm kind of curious how they, because 50%, 50-50, how I might be wrong, but isn't there a law against sending somebody away without both parties?
There is. Yeah, so I was well within my legal right to go pick him up. And where I was living, I'm still living in the same place. Nicholas is in this community now too. But where I was living, I was thinking, if I go and pick him up and have custody of him, it's probably not going to work out where I'm living. So I was intending on just getting an apartment for him around the corner and just telling him, look, this is half the cost or a third of the cost of what for the program. You can do the homeschool. You have to behave. If you don't behave, then, we're kind of out of options. That's what I had intended to do. And then my sister and my father talked me into, just shelling out the cash and making sacrifices because this would be so helpful for Nicholas.
Wow, interesting. It's really interesting. I'm really glad that you brought your dad on, because we haven't really had an episode like this where we get the parents' perspective yet. So this is really, really good. I think this is going to help a lot of people. So thank you guys for both coming on here. So Nick, what do you remember about, were you transported? How did that whole thing happen?
I was transported, but I wasn't transported from my home.
Okay.
I was actually already in hospital. It was a mental hospital that I was transferred to. I was there a week before I was transported to Cross Creek.
Like a 5150 type situation?
Yeah, pretty much. Yep. Exactly.
Okay. And so you got transported. Did you fly? Did you drive?
They drove, but at the time of transport, I was under the weather and sick, and that mental hospital that was actually loading me up on the ambulance to be transferred to an actual hospital to get checked out. And my mom stopped that and had the transporters take me out of the ambulance, handcuff me, put me in the car, and that was the start to Cross Creek.
Wow. Okay. What do you remember about when you first got there? Do you remember them buddying you up with anybody? Do you remember them giving you anything like a physical rule manual, anything like that?
They didn't give me any manual right in the beginning. The first thing they did was they took anything that I had, which I didn't really have anything on me because I was already in the mental hospital. I had $3 on me. And they took that. Then I was strip searched and given an orange shirt and I believe khaki pants because it was more wintertime. And then they gave me, I think it was like a Hope Buddy is what they called it.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
And then it was someone who was either level 4, 5, or 6, and they would help you with the rules in the beginning.
Okay. What family were you in?
I started in group 6. Is
Okay.
what they had groups. I was there in 07, 08.
Okay. And how many people on average would you say were there when you got there on the boys' side, and how many people were there when you left, if you had to like estimate?
It didn't seem like it really changed towards the end, but when I got there, they had 9 groups, and it seemed like there was at least 6 to 8 in each of the groups.
Okay. Okay, so about 50.
It kind of stayed that way the whole time. So I'd say a little over like 100 plus.
So Nicholas turned 18. It was September of 2008. So that kind of coincided a little bit with, the Great Recession and the housing crisis. And so a lot of people, so it was shortly after Nicholas exited that school that I think their attendance really dropped dramatically. And it was during that period that I had learned that his mother filed bankruptcy and there was this uncollected amount that they were coming after me. And I think that they were just struggling because of the economy during that period. So he kind of got the tail end.
Yeah, I think they actually closed down in 2011, if I remember correctly.
Okay. And how old were you when you went there?
I was 3 months to being 17, so I was there 15 months.
Okay. Okay. And how long after you got there did they put you through your first seminar? And also, what was your first seminar called? Was it orientation or discovery?
Orientation. It was orientation, and it was a little bit later than average because they postponed mine a few times for behavioral issues.
Okay.
I was a staff buddy pretty much my entire time. So.
Okay. How was your program like? What did you find that you tried to get points, but you'd always get consequence, or did you feel targeted, or was it easy for you to get points, or were you just like rebellious? How was
we didn't necessarily have a point system really?
Okay.
We had like the group therapy, and you would get asked to be moved up, and it was up to your group if you moved up. Like the therapist had the final say. We had one therapist assigned to us, Craig Hansen at the time, and it seemed like if he agreed with it or let you go up for the group to be moved up, that's how you moved up. And I never really fit in with other kids ever. So I never really had a chance to move up in the program.
Okay, so essentially,
So
like they would decide. Your peers wouldn't decide. You wouldn't earn points to get up levels. You would have to.
But you earned demerits. Like they had a point system of like categories of like what was it?
Rule violations.
Yeah, rule violations. And they had like a 308 category for like cracking your knuckles, and they had a whole list of like which ones were what. Each one was a cat one. That's what I was thinking of, cats.
Yeah.
And like a cat one was like a minus, the least of your worries. Like it wasn't that big of a deal. It wasn't until you got like cat 3s or cat 4s or cat 5s that they actually gave you worksheets, and you couldn't really do much, and we're pretty much on staff buddy.
For one thing they said is they used food, I think, as incentives, because they told me and my family that we couldn't send care packages. That so I think instead of a point system, they would punish by, and I think it got down to the point where I heard they were rationing the toilet paper or something. So they had all these things to make your life miserable to, I guess, change your behavior.
Yep. Get you to bend your will to the program.
The toilet paper thing is we only got 10 sheets of toilet paper, and they did this because they couldn't find out who did it, but someone put rolls of toilet paper in the back of the toilet seat tank. So after that, they made a rule where you could only go in there with 10 sheets of toilet paper. And it didn't matter if you
10 squares.
Yeah, 10 squares. It didn't matter if you had diarrhea that day. It didn't matter what was going on. You got 10 squares.
That's messed up.
That's all you got. And that's it.
That's messed up. I use a lot of toilet paper, so no. That's crazy. They never did that at Spring Creek, but that's crazy. What was your experience of the first seminar? Like, or the seminars in general? Like, what were you thinking in this seminar?
Honestly, I wasn't really thinking much of it. I pretty much kind of thought that with how they were treating us, as we were just kind of like cattle to them,
Yeah.
And it was just another thing that they were, putting us through. I kind of just tried to go with as much as I could and, be compliant, but even that seemed to not be enough or even, satisfy them.
Did they make you admit to anything that you never had done before, or try to make you admit to things like that?
Yeah, and that's a lot in the seminar. They really did do that.
They do that in small groups too. You guys have small groups too, right?
Yeah, no, even just the normal, therapy groups. If you didn't say enough, or say that you did all these horrible things to justify you being there. They would say that you were holding back or not, opening up, and would hold you back and not let you, move up in the program because of that.
Yep. Did you spend a lot of time? Go ahead.
Oh, no, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. Finish your thought if you were going to say something.
No, I was just, it was more psychological than physical abuse, other than they would take you down and restrain you. They didn't care if you said you couldn't breathe. I remember passing out a few different times, being restrained by 3 different guys in Essen, laying on top of me.
Well, to this day, don't you have back issue from when they dogpiled you?
Yeah, I do.
Did you spend a lot of time? I'm sorry. First of all, I'm sorry that you had to go through that. My heart goes out to you for that. Did you spend a lot of time in study hall or worksheets and or intervention?
I spent a lot of time in worksheets, a lot of time in Essen, special needs intervention.
Okay.
That's one of the things the family rep always told me on our weekly calls, is that Nicholas loves the library. He's always in there reading. He always has a book in his hand. So I'm hearing this stuff thinking, oh, this is wonderful. Nick likes the library now. It was just out and out lies. And the guy, Frank Mann, the family rep, he was really believable. And really sincere. And he made comparisons to his own family, that he had put one of his own kids through the program, and that's how he became involved. And now his kid is this, thriving adult raising a family. And I don't know. I don't believe any of it now.
Yeah, that's insane. It's awesome to hear it from, well, not awesome, but it's interesting to hear it from a parent directly. You know what I mean? Being told these things, because that's for me, that's more validation of what they were doing. You know what I mean? It's just further. I am curious. Have you watched the program?
I did. I watched. Was it 2 parts? I watched the first part pretty thoroughly. I may have dozed off in parts of the second part, so I need to go back and watch it over again. But yeah, it was pretty shocking.
Yeah, it's well, just like watching that and then having this interview, it's just like extremely validating. So thank you again for bringing your dad on. This is good. Okay. So what level did you make it to when you were there?
I got it like level 2.
Level 2? Okay. Yep. And were you on any prescription medications before you got sent there?
I actually was put on prescription medication at the age of 4.
Okay. Same here. About age 5, I was.
Yeah. My mom took it a step early, put me on Ritalin before I started school, but it is what it is.
Okay.
So I was on a bunch of different stuff before Cross Creek, and then once I was on Cross Creek, it seemed like they just changed it and upped everything. Like I was on, I believe it was 300 milligrams of Seroquel in the morning, 300 at lunch, and then 300 at nighttime. Is what they're giving us, 900 milligrams of Seroquel a day.
So basically, they just had him tranquilized. And
yeah,
I think Nicholas was telling me that at some point he was able to trade some of the Seroquel pills for Taco Bell for some of the workers there. So you even have dishonesty among the ranks.
Well, they would hire anybody. They'd hire anyone off the street, especially if it was like the night staff or just the general staff watching the group most of the day when the therapist isn't there for the 45 minutes.
Yep. Yeah, I was going to ask you if they loaded you up with different medications or took you off cold turkey, because they do one of the two when you go to these programs. For me, it was load me up with more prescriptions. It sounded like they did that to you, but they also switched your prescription. So
They did. They liked. My mom was a phlebotomist and she worked in the hospitals, and she liked to just change it up all the time. Any new drug or anything that she thought could help, she decided to try that.
Yeah. I'm sorry you had to go through that too. I was the same, Ritalin at age of 5. And then they kept on experimenting.
90 kids, that's what they got. They got the pills.
Yeah. And then they wonder why I'm like, kind of like the way I am these days. But it is what it is. I'm good now. So did you get pulled from the program? You got pulled, right?
I did. I got pulled 3 days before my 18th birthday, and that was because of billing issues. I got put in there on the 2nd, so I had to leave on the 2nd. And they would bill her for the whole 30 days, even though I was only going to be there for the 3. And she knew I was going to walk out. And
I always thought he checked himself out on his 18th birthday. I guess I never knew that it was a billing issue.
Interesting.
No, I got out 3 days early because of billing.
Because that was one of the conversations with Frank Manor, Craig Hansen, is that, well, he's planning on checking himself out when he turns 18, and he's so close to getting his diploma. And then later we find out it's not even an accredited school.
Did any of your credits transfer?
I tried to transfer them, but no, they didn't actually. It didn't actually work out where it was accepted.
Didn't it say in that program that those schools are not accredited and the diploma is not worth the paper that they're written on? And that was a huge selling point to me. And they knew that I was really encouraged by the, prospect of Nicholas graduating. And they really used that as a carrot, to try to keep Nicholas in there past his 18th birthday. It's just, you feel like such a fool when it's all over.
Yeah, well, that's why
what was that? The school they were giving us was a joke. It was they gave us the textbook and do this over and over again until you get 80% and you're on to the next.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. What seminar did you make it through while you were there? How many did you?
I went through Focus, and they only did that as an exception because technically you're supposed to be a level 3 for that. But I was never a level 3. I only got to level 2. But because I was there so long, they let me do it because they eventually changed it to where if you hit so many months, you got that that seminar.
Okay. Do you by chance remember your I am statement or purpose statement or any of that?
I don't. I remember making one. I definitely remember making one, and I definitely remember slamming the towel down on the floor in the dark room and saying it.
Yeah.
There was one where they had a thing where they had people dress up in like cross dress and that. But I couldn't tell you exactly what my statement was. I honestly, when I made it, didn't really care about it and was just like I was saying before, just going through the motions of this is what they want me to do. So I'm spilling out some words here, you know?
Okay. And what was the stupidest thing you ever got a consequence for there?
Oh, wow, there's so many. I mean,
you can say a few. You can say a few.
Well, when I first got there, I was sick, and like I was saying, and they forced me to go straight down to eat when I first got there, and I wasn't feeling good already. So I started eating, and before I could even like get my tray up or do anything or tell anyone, I threw up like right there on the tray, and that was my first consequence was throwing up onto my food tray.
What did they give you for that?
It was a Cat 4. It was actually worksheets.
Oh wow! Oh wow!
That was in like the first few hours of me being there.
Unfucking believable. When you got there,
because of that, I couldn't talk to my Hope buddy from right off the bat because once you're on staff buddy, you can't talk to anybody, not even your, yeah. So I pretty much learned that from the get go.
Yeah, that's fucked up. When you get there, would you usually start out at level 1 or 2?
Level 1.
Okay, interesting. At Spring Creek, or at least when I was at Spring Creek, they started you at level 2. So it's really crazy seeing all these like differences and similarities between these different programs because for the most part, they have a lot of they're mostly like the same, but they have these little things that are different. It's really interesting. Fun to see.
It changes it per year. I feel like each year that they do it, they kind of change what the rules are a little bit. Yeah, like I was saying, that rule of the 10 sheets while I was there. It's like with whatever comes up, they just write it down on that thing and add it on as a consequence.
Yep, they're like, oh, we can't do that anymore. Can't do that anymore. It's crazy. Yeah. They just be making new rules. It's insane. Okay. What did you do when you left? Like, how did you get home? Or like, what did they give you like $5 and just to ride down the road? Because that's what they did for some people. Like, what
no, because my mom pulled me. She actually picked me up.
Okay.
We stayed in a hotel for a night. We walked around Zion because Zion Park's right next to, Cross Creek. So
nice.
We did a, little bit of family bonding as what you could call it with, just, oh, you locked me up for 15 months. And now we're trying to family bond. Cool.
Yeah. That's crazy. Okay. When you got before you left, did they try and push like a home contract or a life contract on you?
They did.
They did?
They did. I never actually signed one. I never actually, but yeah, no, they made me write up a couple different drafts of one, but I never actually signed it or did anything with it. I actually never even took a copy of it with me. Like when I left, I didn't get my $3 back when I left.
I was gonna ask you about that too. Wow, unfucking believable, dude.
I don't know what else with $3. I assume one of the staff members took it, and I don't know.
$3, man. Wow. Okay. So what happened after you got home? How was reintegration into society? What was the hardest for you after the program to deal with?
Well, probably the same thing it was before my sister. But that's another story. Well, when I first got home, I was living at home for maybe 2 months before I got kicked out. And that was because my sister decided to have me pay her buy me some beer. She actually offered it to like buy me and my girlfriend at the time some beer. So I was like, okay, cool. Later that evening, she apparently told me that we had beer in our room. So yeah, I got kicked out for that. Ended up moving to Nevada with my girlfriend then, and she's now my wife. So we've been together this whole time. That's
So it seems like they met each other pretty quickly once he got released from the program. I think it was within the first month or two, wasn't it?
It was the first month, and then she moved in 2 weeks after us meeting, and we've been together ever since.
Okay. Does she know? Has she watched the program? Does she know what happened to you? Have you talked to her?
I tried to get her to watch the program, but it upset her too much, so I didn't have her continue to watch it.
Okay, yeah, that's completely understandable. And for your dad, when you were in the program, would you get a lot of letters from him? Like, did you? And when you would get letters from him, if you did, like the language in the letters, was it ever like did it ever set off any red flags to like what might be going on in the program? Or were they always kind of like, oh, I'm doing really good, kind of like just pretending?
I don't think I got a whole lot of letters. Maybe what, 3, 4 letters.
Interesting.
That's because I never wrote any ones that would actually be approved.
Okay. Would they try and make you like write letters though, right? They have to write home or.
But like I said, most of them would get stopped because they would pre-read them and they would mostly just, add more worksheets for that. And I would, but yeah, I think maybe 3 or 4 might have actually been approved and sent.
And it could have been less than 3 or 4. It was, 15 years ago, but I do remember getting at least a couple. And there were maybe I was out to lunch, but nothing tipped me off as being a red flag. Watching the program and some of the letters on there, I was thinking, yeah, I could see how, they're trying to talk in code or how it could have a different meaning. But I didn't catch any of that. I was just happy that he was writing me and that it seemed like he was, advancing and, writing letters, for Nicholas before he went. I don't think he would have written me a letter. So I don't know. I was just, didn't have my guard up by that time. I just had swallowed the whole thing, hook, line, and sinker, thinking that it was adding value to his life.
Okay. And I also, I'm just curious, like looking back on it now, like, what are your thoughts about like just him being sent away and just like the whole thing in general?
Well, back then I was thinking this is going to be a good experience for him because he's going to get a different perspective on life. He's going to be in a different geographical location. He's always had, trouble with peers. And I was thinking he's going to be living with his peers. It's on-site school. It's on-site therapist. So I was thinking, this is probably what rich people do. But I figured, it's, you got to do what you got to do. And I really thought it was helping. And then once he was released and I started hearing, the stories from him, I was thinking, you got to be kidding me. This is hard to believe. And then watching the program, I was like, wow, holy shit, it was every bad as he made it out to be.
Does it make you mad?
I'm angry, but it's definitely impacted both of our lives. It is what it is. We survived it.
Mm-hmm.
They're definitely that's organized crime right there. So we caught up in the net, and it's sad because our lives would be different these days. But I guess just learn from experiences and try to move forward.
Okay. And for Nick, if you could go, knowing what you know now, if you could go back in time and not go through it, would you do it and why?
Wait, do what?
Through Cross Creek.
Oh, well, I didn't really have a choice to do it. So in the first time, so no, I wouldn't do it again.
Okay. And
Yeah.
okay.
His mother was so convinced that Cross Creek was the right decision. She had told me before I signed the stipulated agreement that if I went and checked him out of Cross Creek, that she would have me arrested for attempted murder. Because in her mind, his behavior was so bad at that point that I believe she seriously thought he was a suicide risk.
Which kind of upsets me because the very first paragraph in their contract, it says that they don't handle those type of cases. They don't handle mental issues. They don't handle those type of problems.
And when she told me that she'd have me arrested for attempted murder, I was thinking, well, she's crazy. They would never arrest me for that, but I know she would try.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's always a scary thought. Definitely. What do you think would have helped you instead, Nick? Looking back on it.
Honestly, just probably just separating from my mother. I still don't get along with her now. Cross Creek didn't help. It probably made it 100 times worse. But even then, probably just, like what he was saying, set me up with an apartment down the road probably would have been the best bet for me.
That's one thing I got from the program, though, is that there really aren't a whole lot of options for teens. And so, what do you do? I think that answer is different for probably every family.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Looking back on it, for your dad, what do you think, looking back on it, would have helped him instead? Do you think if you had gotten him an apartment, that would have helped?
I really don't know. I mean, a lot of it's just immaturity and growing up. And I think having more attention from the parents, more hands-on, from authority type figure or a parent figure or a grandparent or something. But the lives we live in, sometimes it's hard to be able to give everything your child needs. And so when Cross Creek is going to give everything that you're thinking you're not going to be able to give, even though the price tag is, too much, it's, well, I can't do it myself. So,
Okay.
but I really don't know. I think, that's the world we live in. I heard a statistic the other day that the United States has the highest percentage of fatherless families than any other country in the world. So, I mean, it all, I think, starts from home.
Definitely. Sorry, I had to close my window. There was a truck outside. I didn't want it picking up.
Starts at home.
And for both of you, what would you say to a parent thinking about sending their kid away to a place like this?
I would say, well, this is the worst option that you can choose. So.
Okay.
Just
Definitely.
doesn't help the kid. It caused more issues with my parents than I had before. And it's not a good place for any child to be.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. Is there anything else you guys want to add before we end the interview?
I don't think so. I took notes on the weekly chats with the therapist and the family rep, and we have those printed out, and there might be one or two other documents that's kind of like a journal of what transpired over that 15 months. I don't know if that would be add value thing, but we'd be willing to chat with you if you'd like to look at it.
Yeah, totally. Did you want to do that now, or did you want to do that on a different part? We could do a part 2.
I can email it to you, and you could do what you want with it.
Okay, cool. I'll publish it on probably in my group.
Okay, Nick has your email address, I'm assuming.
You have my Facebook, right? You can just send it.
Yeah.
Or also you can send it to straightoutofbspodcast@gmail.com.
Okay.
And I'll send that email in the chat.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yep. And thank you guys for so much for coming on the show. If you guys ever want to do a part 2, just let me know. Take some notes, and we'll do it. We'll make it happen. And thanks again for coming on. And if you've watched so far in the video, please make sure you like the video, subscribe if you're not already, and share the video. Let's get these places shut down. Have a good day, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.